For those of you that don't know, I started my journey, and I just want to share with you kind of my background if you're new here. Started my journey in 2013. Prior to starting my own business back then, I had been in the industry for 16 years, working with companies, working as an employee, being paid actually to do exactly what I do now in my business as a branding and marketing professional. So building brands, developing strategies, creating campaigns, managing budgets, and making sure I brought in results, whether that was seats at an event, ticket sales for a festival, organizing content for the companies that I was working with for social media, writing emails, creating outdoor advertising, developing brands, revamping brands, working with agencies to do advertising campaigns. I have done that for the last 28 years. I absolutely love it. And my journey in my business, I really did start off mostly doing training, webinars, and then it kind of developed into coaching and, of course, consulting. And then I started up my own agency where we do social media management and digital marketing. And as I said at the start of this session, I'm also an author of the Brand and Marketing Planner. So I really just want to give you that background. I'm multi-award winning. I'm up for an award this year. I was just nominated last year and actually was successful in my receipt of the SME Agency of the Year from SME Business. That was an award that I won. And, for this year, my goals were a little bit bigger. And so, of course, monitoring comes into that, looking at what I've done in previous years, looking at what's worked really well for me, fine tuning things, in my capacity as a speaker, coach, consultant, and trainer, and just making sure that what I'm doing is bringing me joy and giving me the results I want. So let's look at where you're at in your business. Let's think about what you're doing in your business and what you might do differently. Let's look at your website, right? If you've got a website at the moment or you've got web pages, make sure that you've thought about your website traffic and that you've got a way to monitor your website. So whether that's going to be through, looking at your back end of your website, depending on the platform you've built it on, whether that's WordPress, GoDaddy, Wix, etc., Squarespace. I'm not endorsing any of those brands, by the way, but whatever platform you're on, you probably have some kind of built-in way of reviewing your website traffic and also sources of traffic, and also, popular pages, least popular pages, pages people exit off of, pages people stay on the longest, who is, what are your unique visitor numbers like? What's that like on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? So all of that you can review. So make sure you're looking at your website traffic and, of course, the traffic relating to your pages. Also, if you're not already doing this, I want you to think about as well where your leads are coming from. Where are your leads coming from in your business? Now, the whole reason to keep an eye on where your leads are coming from is that if you're not getting that many leads, then you need to obviously change the source of lead generation. And if you are getting lots of leads, then it's sometimes a good idea to look at what's working well to help you to attract those leads. And also, if it's not working the way you want, or you feel you could get more leverage out of it, it might be that you want to do things like paid advertising to increase the number of leads that you're getting from the channel that you're using. Or it may be that you may even do other methods of lead generation. So if you are using leads, if it's through competitions, if it's through, downloadable ebooks, if it's through webinars, etc., make sure you are looking at your statistics. It's very, very important to do that. Okay. So if you're not doing that already, please do make sure that you've checked that out. All right. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of us kind of glance over is, we're really good at posting on social media. We're absolutely fantastic at sharing content. But how many of us are regularly looking at our analytics? It's so important to make sure that you are looking at your analytics for social media. Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, what this means is I'm directing you to that graph or that tab that says analytics on it, or insights. If you are using Instagram and Facebook, you can go to the Business Suite app, which is built on Meta, okay? Go to the Business Suite app and you can quite easily see by clicking onto Business Suite where you're going wrong, or where you may need to do some changes. I wouldn't even say wrong, where you may need to learn a few lessons and make changes, and also where you could do a little bit better and improve, or what you may do more of. So make sure you've looked at the Business Suite app. If you're using automation tools, also make sure that you bear in mind that the automation tools will also have analytics for you. So make sure you check in on those platforms as well. If you're using tools like Later, Buffer, Hootsuite, etc., they will also have analytics, so make sure you look at them. But generally speaking, if you're using social media, if you're using email marketing, if you're using websites, if you're using any form of online, you want to make sure you're looking at your analytics and your data, okay? Because that's going to give you lots of information in relation to performance, video views, profile visits, click-throughs, the best time to post, formats of posts that have worked really well, what might be doing better than other things in terms of content ideas, etc. So do not forget to look at your monitoring for that. And that brings me nicely on to, looking at conversion rates and sales. A lot of us are spending time online, writing emails, doing blogs, doing interviews, going to events, but sales results is really, quite an important point to make today. If you're not already looking at your sales, if you're not already looking at, your inventory, if you've got physical products, or, your number of discovery calls booked, or the amount of appointments you've attended, or the number of actual sales, the money in the bank, this is really important. So make sure you look at your sales, look at the history of your sales. Maybe you might even find trends in terms of your sales results. So do not forget to look at sales as a figure when you are looking at your monitoring. And certainly if you've never done that before, you want to make sure you've thought about that. And all of that, of course, is aligned to lead generation and, of course, your content that you're sharing and your social media. If you're doing well on social media, it may be that you're successfully directing traffic to your e-commerce store or your website. And that will then be able to give you an indication of whether or not you're converting sales and making money, because all you've got to do is look at your end result, which will be your website, your shopping store, etc. So look at your stats to see if sales are coming in there. And in terms of your content, looking through on click-throughs, looking through on what you're doing in terms of, what's performing really well, frequently asked questions, that kind of thing is also great as well for monitoring, because it may help you to make more informed decisions of what to share more or less of that will in fact impact, or may be likely to have most impact on your bottom line and the amount of sales you're making. So when you're looking at sales, think about your leads generated, but also make sure that you've thought about your content and, of course, your social media that you're sharing as well. And don't forget, content is not the same as social media. Your content might be what you're sharing offline as well, whether that's through presentations, whether that's through interviews. It could be that you're sharing content offline as well as online. So make sure that you monitor and track the results across all of that stuff. All right. And then that brings me nicely onto videos. A lot of you are producing videos, whether they're pre-recorded, whether they're live, whether they're webinars, whether they're through channels like YouTube or Vimeo, etc. Make sure that you are looking at the platforms that your videos are being hosted on. Okay, so whether you've got courses that you're doing and you need to look at the viewing time of the videos inside your course platform, or whether you have a membership site and you're doing videos there, even your welcome video, anything that you've got videos on, take some time to look at the statistics and what the analytics are saying to you in terms of your videos. And it goes beyond the views. Okay, viewing time is great, but actually looking at things like the keywords you're using, whether or not certain titles or trending videos are more popular, etc. Even things like audio that you might use, or captions, use of subtitles, etc. All of these things you should be looking at in terms of your metrics to make decisions on how you're going to do your next bulk of videos, or what types of video content you might actually produce. So make sure you look at video content as well. Now, I mentioned offline earlier, and something that I want to mention, certainly for those of us that are hosting events, but also if you're even attending networking events as well, is to look at the monitoring for how many events you attend and, the outcomes you got from attending those events or exhibiting at those events. But also, if you are hosting events, look at the metrics. What are they telling you? What is the data showing you? Who attended the event? What days were the best days to host events? What types of people were attending your events? Are they all your ideal clients? The exhibitors you attracted, are they your, ideal type of exhibitor? All of these things, your pricing of your ticket, the location, all of these things are relevant to monitoring. So make sure that you're looking at your events. If you're hosting events, if you are attending events, if you are exhibiting at events, make sure events are part of your analytics. All right. Make sure you're looking at how you've been performing at events, but also your spend at events as well. And how you've been promoting the events. these are just minor things, but actually the bigger scale of things is if you're hosting events, did you get the outcomes you want? And if you are exhibiting or attending events, did you see who you wanted in that room? Did you actually make connections? Did you actually get results from the money you spent to exhibit or attend or host an event? Did you see what you wanted? That's what you want to be actually evaluating. And then think about brand awareness, just generally, online and offline. How aware, how visible has your brand been? Could you be doing more in terms of consistency? What do you need to tweak in terms of, your font, your colors, your language? Do people actually understand what it is you do? How is your brand perceived? How regularly are you doing surveys or feedback forms? How are you capturing data to actually evaluate what people think about your brand? Because all of these things are just a few of the things that you might want to be monitoring in terms of your branding. So don't forget to think about your brand awareness as well. Now, I'm coming up near the end, so I just want to just share a few more pointers with you. If you are paying for ads, make sure you've given some thought to your ad spend. Make sure you've given some thought to how much you've spent on the advertisement, the medium that you used for the advertisement, whether it was a billboard, the back of a bus, if it was an event brochure, make sure you've qualified the type of advert you used, the positioning of it, the wording of it, the size of it, the format of it, online, offline ad, etc. The spend in terms of money and, the opportunities to see that advert and whether or not you feel you got return on investment. All right. Now, there are many different kinds of tools you can use to evaluate your advertising, the spend of your adverts, your cost per click, conversion rates, etc. Looking at things like, Google metrics, etc. There are dashboards for all of that fancy stuff. So make sure that if you've got an advertising expert in your team, or if you're just starting out yourself, make sure you familiarize yourself with the dashboard and qualify whether or not those ads are working for you. All right. Now, if you're not already using UTM codes, this is a game changer. Now, I'm saying this because if you're running campaigns and you've got pixels or you've got, ad codes that you use to track the success of a campaign, UTM codes will literally be a bonus for you. It's a great way to track the exact source of your traffic to your website. So, for example, if you're promoting a product on Instagram stories and you're also promoting a product on your Facebook and you're promoting a product on your newsletter and also on your LinkedIn as examples, by adding on unique links, which are the UTM codes, okay, this is how you can track where people have actually come to your page from. So you can then see where you might want to promote more or less in terms of sources of traffic. You'll be able to see what link or what platform or what post or what video has actually helped you to drive more clicks and sales to your business. So UTM codes, I would highly, highly recommend. If you've got a website manager or someone that knows a bit about digital marketing, that is something you want to definitely look into for 2025. If you're using emails as well, I've said this before on previous, podcasts that I've done. Make sure that you've thought about email marketing. How many people are actually opening your emails? If you're running ads in other people's emails, have you asked them to tell you where those ads have come from? Or rather, where those clicks have come from? If people have clicked on your email campaign or their email campaign through to your website, have you got a tracking code to actually confirm that it's come from their email? One thing that I know a lot of you do is you spend money on ads, but you don't always qualify whether or not that ad gave you return on investment. So opportunities might come up for you to advertise at someone's event or at someone's on someone's email newsletter or on someone's website. How many of you actually go back and check whether or not people clicked that ad, that banner ad on that person's website? How many of you go back and actually check or even ask people how they heard about your business, how they actually came to know about your products and services? Because this is one of the ways you can actually check if your marketing is working, by simply asking the question, how did you hear about me? And that's if you haven't already got metrics to check that or monitoring in place to check that. So, make sure that you've looked at different ways to find this out. Ask questions, right? Ask the people you're collaborating with. Ask them to tell you or find out yourself. And then also, a lot of you do printing and, you spend money on promotional merchandise, t-shirts, leaflets, brochures, banners. But how many of you actually look at how these things are performing? How many of you have got, for example, a unique QR code, a scannable QR code on a banner that might actually help you to qualify how many people are clicking and scanning that particular banner at a particular event or in a particular season for you to qualify if that banner is working. How many of you are actually using brochures with QR codes in them or business cards with reference numbers on them that tell you when someone actually calls you and you say, how did you hear about me? And they say, oh, I grabbed your business card. And then you say, okay, is there a code on that business card? And then they say, yep, 1234AZ. You know automatically that 1234AZ relates to an event you went to back in summer 2023, right? So having codes and having QR codes and having reference numbers on your printing and display, makes it really easy for you to track whether or not your marketing material is working for you offline. So don't discount that, okay, yeah, I've got a banner, I've got a tablecloth, I've done my brochure. Do not forget that you can also track and effectively monitor the impact that these things are having as well, just by having what I call literature reference codes or QR codes. Okay. And if you want to know more about that, it's all inside my coaching community. So you can find out more about that in there. Literature reference codes, simple to set up. I can help you to do that if you've got a lot of different printed and promotional materials. And then I want to kind of just touch on my last, but I guess one of the most important things, and this is around the power of referrals. Now, a lot of us don't really qualify this. And I have to say, in my business, I am blessed that I am able to get a lot of referrals from people that use my products or services. I'm also quite fortunate that I have a lot of people that come back to my business and actually say, hey, Vee, you've done a great job last year. I'm ready to run the same campaign again this year. Or Vee, you done a great job last year. I'm actually going to be doing the event again. Or I know someone that might actually use your services. This is a great way for you to actually find easy business that doesn't cost you lots of money. So make sure that you are clear on where the referral sources are coming from, but also if you are using or referring people or getting people to refer people to you, then make sure that you've asked them for their details and keep a log, right? Keep a log of who is referring people to you and give them a reward, incentivize them. All right. Make sure that they are aware that you are thankful for them for that referral. And obviously, if it ends up in a paid job or a paid piece of work or sale, then reward them for that as well, right? People like to be rewarded for things. And I'm not saying, that you pay for a referral before the business deal's even closed. But if you do get a referral and, that referral ends up in someone spending money with you, even if that is a £20 sale, make sure you acknowledge the referral source. Make sure that you say thank you and show some gratitude, okay? Because referrals are actually way cheaper than you paying for advertising, okay? And I'm sure that if you do the maths and you see that you've got a lot of referrals, you may even unveil regular referrers who may actually become viewed as your brand ambassadors, right? So make sure that if you've got regular referrers or even websites or links or blogs that are regularly referring, your products and services to you, make sure you shout them out, show gratitude, make a note of the name, send a little thank you card. And if you can afford to, make sure that you give a little token of appreciation as well. These things really, really do make a difference. So, thinking about some of these things as ideas, whether it's an email marketing report, whether it's a UTM code, whether it's a, clickable QR code to track how somebody found out about you, whether it's a survey, whether it's, sales conversions, stats, all of these things are really, really important. And you just need to make sure that you are actually recording this stuff so that you are clear on what you're doing, how often, what's working well, what's not. And then that way you can tweak what's not working and do more of what is. Okay, this is the whole point of monitoring what you're doing. So make sure you've got an understanding. Make sure you've got an understanding of your customers and your clients, because what you might find that is that as you're doing this monitoring of your marketing, it might actually show you that actually you've been posting a lot on social media, but you don't really understand who your ideal clients are. Or maybe you've been attending lots of events, but actually you spent a lot of money exhibiting at events, and it might be cheaper for you to start using email marketing or doing paid advertising. Or just maybe the people that are buying your products and services, when you look at, your sources of traffic and, the frequently asked questions and your sales, the people that are buying your products and services are not the same people that you're giving out leaflets to. They're not the same people whose events you're attending, right? So make sure that you have a clear understanding of your customers and your clients so that you can target and attract your ideal clients and customers, right? In the right channels of communication, using the right platforms, and with the right messaging. This is really, really important with your marketing. Today, we've spoken a lot about evaluating your messaging, your marketing tactics, but actually, a big part of this is actually looking at your messaging and understanding your customers as well. And this is a separate conversation, but I hope you've got some value from today. I really hope you've understood what's important here. Planning and monitoring is really key. This is one of the reasons why I brought out my brand and marketing planner, which, as I said, is now in its 7th year. And if you know that you need help with branding and marketing, or planning your content, or understanding how to set a budget, or organizing, your sales targets, and looking at monitoring each month, evaluating what you're doing, setting up goals the following month, etc., all of this is included in my brand and marketing planner. So go and check it out now. It's on the website, insight2marketing.com, insight2marketing.com/products. And when you go there, you'll be able to find out more about the planner and how it can help you